CM 365, all about Carnatic music. Today, let us look at the notation as we see in the Carnatic music system. Notation is also known as Swara Lipi. Swara refers to the note and Lipi is the written form of language. Now, if you look at the Samaveda text, we could say that these which contain notated melodies are probably the world's oldest surviving ones. And a rock inscription from circa 7th to 8th century at Kudumiyanmalai contains early examples of a music notation. And later on in the Sangeetha Sampradaya Pradarshini of Subbarama Dikshidhar also, we see that a very intricate pattern of notation has been used, where it is not only about mentioning the swaras and how their movements occur in the tala as we see today, but he has also employed the different kind of gamakas for each note. What should be the gamaka employed for each note has been given in a very detailed manner. Of course, we do not notate it that way now, but then this is a very, very valuable contribution that he has given in terms of how we can actually interpret a song in a detailed manner from the very visual notation of it. Now, coming to the modern notation, we see that when we are notating a composition, first we mention about the raga of the composition, then the tala, then the composer. And then we also see that, for example, in the top we also give the arohana, avarohana. That is, what are the notes which are taken by that particular ragam, what notes are not taken. For example, I say abogi and then write Sarigamadasa Sadamagarisa, which means that the Panchama and Nishada are absent in this particular ragam. Now, suppose I don't know abogi at all and I want to understand what this Sarigama Dasa is, that is, what is the variety of Ri, Ga, Ma and Dha used. For that, we give an indication of its Melakarta, that is, Janya of 22nd Melakarta, Karahara Priya. Suppose I write that. And I know what Karahara Priya stands for in terms of the variety of notes. So, applying that here, what I will do is I'll try to sing abogi as Sarigama Dasa Sada Magarisa. Like this. Same example. Suppose I give Sagama Panisa and put again Janya of 22nd Mela Karar Priya. So even if I don't know that ragam, which is Shuddha Danya say, I will interpret it as a Janya of Karar Priya and sing like Sagama Panisa Sanipa Magasa. So now the next point is about the notation used in Indian Carnatic music system is that on the top we write in the first line we write the swara notation and below it we write the sahityam, that is, which syllable of the sahitya falls under which swara is clearly indicated, so that as we keep singing we know which vowel has to be elongated, which has to be cut short and other things. Then to indicate the rhythmic framework, we have vertical lines. For example, if you take Adi Talam, which has got one lagu and followed by two drutams. After one lagu, we'll draw one vertical line. After the first dhrutam, another vertical line. And after the second dhrutam, we know that the cycle is complete, so we draw two vertical lines. So that way the tala aspect is indicated by various means, like as I mentioned here, in this case, like the vertical lines. And a dot above the note indicates that it is in the higher octave. A dot below indicates that it is in the lower octave. Suppose I put sa and then dha with a dot below it, which means in the context of abogi, sa da. Now, if I put a sa with a dot and the ri with a dot, which means that the sa and ri both are in the tarasthai, to be sung like sa ri. Now, how do we express the elongation of a note? If you put one comma after a particular note, it means that it should be extended by one note duration. If you put a semicolon, then it means two note duration. Now, if you have more commas, you keep adding, like for example, a note followed by 3 commas means that the note has got a value of 4 and so on. So that way these commas and semicolons act in terms of helping us to know what is the duration of that particular note. Then, to indicate speed, if you put a line above a particular set of notes, it means that it has to be rendered in the next speed, that is double the speed. And as I said earlier also, only 7 notes are there, but then for symbols, if you are going to use, we are using only Sarigama Padani. But each of these admits of three varieties of notes, like the Re, Ga, Dha, and you've got 3 varieties, Ma 2 varieties. So here, as I mentioned earlier also, the mentioning of the on top of the particular ragam, the scale or the Janaka raga helps us to understand what is the variety of note that is being presented as part of that particular ragam. For example, if you take the same case here like Sagama Panisa, it could be interpreted in 2 ways. If I say it is a janya of Karar Priya, it could be Sagama Panisa Sanipa Magasa. The same Sagama Panisa, if I say, is janya of Kalyani, which is actually here what I am trying to I'm thinking in mind is Amrita Varshini. Sa ga ma pa ni sa ni pa ma ga sa. So both are Sagama Panisa, Sa ni pa ma ga sa. But because they are the janyas of 2 different melas, the variety of notes taken are different, and this helps us to understand the notation also. And today's notations, I would say, are much simpler. When we look at the Sangeetha Sampradaya Bharathi again, we see that what an elaborate system of notation has been adopted. It's absolutely mind-boggling, where the stress, which note has to be stressed, which has to be oscillated, which has to be glided, which has to be rendered as janta, everything has been done. And so that way I could say that the Sangeetha Sampradaya Bharathi is a very effective way of notating the composition, where you can actually sing the composition along the way the composer intended. But today, of course, we see that the norm in most books is the way I told you now about a simpler structure of notation, and how each of us interpret that particular notation is what makes for different colors which are given to the same composition. CM 365, all about Carnatic music.